Welcome to this episode of the Comedy Defect podcast. My name is Winter, I'm a comedian, and this is my show. Those new to the show, welcome. Those old to the show, thanks for coming back, guys. This can be a very short intro because it's quite a long episode. One of my favourites, though. I spent an hour and a half talking to this comedian. He's a professional comedian. He does a lot for charity. And he is a very funny guy, and I just loved talking to him. We just really connected, and we started talking about loads of different things as well. So I cut it down from an hour and a half to an hour and just over 13 minutes. So I hope you enjoy it, right? And I hope you're having a good Christmas and you're relaxing with your family. But if you don't like your family, I hope you're relaxing on your own. And remember, New Year's is just around the corner, so you're easing off on all the craziness, the indulgence. So just kind of reel it in a bit, and if you don't do any of those crazy things, you're playing a nice video game or reading a book and just enjoying the winter evenings and just kind of relaxing. So all I'm going to say is this is an excellent episode, 105, with a very funny comedian, a really lovely fella. He's done a lot for charity, but we'll get into that as well. It is episode 105 with Damian Kingsley. Enjoy. Damian Kingsley, thank you for coming on the Comedy Defect. I really appreciate your time, man. And how have you been?
Good. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Similar to most people, I guess during lockdown, just getting through it. Everything's changed, really, hasn't it? So life without live comedy has been pretty depressing.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to find ways of not letting that affect me too much. How have you dealt with it?
I'm just doing podcasts every day. Every day I'm recording a podcast.
Every day?
I'm there nearly like every free day I've got, I'm recording a podcast. That's what I'm doing. It's kind of like this podcast has become sort of like a Samaritan's charity thing that I just kind of check in with comedians and seeing how everyone else is doing, and if I can pick up any tips to how I can get through it better, you know what I mean? Have you signed up to TikTok yet?
No, that's one of the things that's on my list of stuff to work out, because I'm generally a little bit, I have been a bit kind of dismissive of online video stuff and all of that. I've got no idea why, because I find videos, comedy videos really funny, and it's a real talent. And, TikTok, of course, to be immediately amusing or interesting in, 6 seconds for TikTok?
I'm not sure. I think they can be longer. I think maybe, I don't know, about a minute. Do you actually have the app on your phone, though?
No.
Oh my God! Like you're kind of lucky, because it's sort of like it's a bit of a wormhole. When you just watch it, you're like, Jesus, that's 45 minutes gone, because you're just scrolling and scrolling, and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrifying. You know what I mean? It's like you just feel your life just drifting away without any control of whatever you're trying to do in your life. You're like, there's my goals, that's gone, that's all gone today. It's crazy, like it is, in fairness, it is a nice way to pass a bit of time if you just have nothing to do, that you can't do anything. A guilty pleasure at the moment, because you literally can't do anything. So I could spend all day in it, but then I'm like, okay, no, I've got a list. The only way I got through this the third lockdown was because I was just like, man, this one really knocked the wind out of my sails, because I was like, look, I set up a couple of gigs in Henlow, and you've got one as well, don't you? You've got the Comedy on the Canal, right?
The guy there, do you know Matthew?
No, I don't.
He's an interesting chap. I met him on the. Do you remember I did that Penniless tour for
Yes, I was going to mention that. Yeah, that's it, man. So yeah, that's when I met you, and you were like doing those gigs, and we did a few gigs of those.
Yeah,
together.
You did some, didn't you? Yeah. I met him down. I'll have to introduce you, because he's a lovely bloke. He's good to know, but he's basically. It was really weird doing that tour, because I met so many, pub landlords in various different circumstances, and some people were, really struggling to make a successful business out of the pub, because it can be hard. It's not as easy as most. I think a lot of people come into it thinking they're just going to, do a bit of work on the side of their drinking hobby. Yeah. And, Matthew was very different. I expect he's a millionaire, because he's got about 7 beautiful pubs, like the one down in Winkwell on the canal, and nice. He just knows how to make it work. And he set up, he's a massive comedy fan, he's been, don't know if you know, but in Winkwell, everyone's been to Winkwell, like when Duncan Oakley used to run it, used to MC it, and he's a good friend of Matthew's family. He said, they've had Sarah Pascoe, Sarah Millican, Robin Ince, everyone down there kind of, he loves his comedy. So what he did is when he bought a new pub, which was basically an old shithole in Little Chalfont, but he bought like a shitty old like pub by the station that was run down. That was a bit of a kind of virtually a Weatherspoons.
Yeah,
worse.
I know what that is. I think I know where that one is. It's like it's really out in the sticks, isn't it? There's a little valley just before it. It's on a corner.
Yeah,
that's the one, right?
Well, kind of. It's called the Metropolitan. I think it's always been called the Metropolitan.
Yeah.
And he's just gutted the place. I mean, he must have spent a fortune. And poor thing, because he not long before lockdown completely refurbished the place, and there was a huge basement. So Matthew, knowing his comedy as he does, he said, well, we've got space for the cellar plus loads more space.
Yeah.
So it's got low ceilings,
Brilliant.
a capacity of about 70. Let's make a comedy club. And he based it on the King's Head.
Yeah, great.
So he likes to, which is a good example of how to do a comedy club. And he just went for it. It's perfect. It's not only comedy, but he primarily built it for comedy. So it's all laid out for that. So he got me to book that one, and I was booking Winkwell as well. But he didn't really carry on doing comedy in Winkwell. Interestingly, the last couple of gigs we got didn't sell out. There's only 50. He almost always sells out. His theory is that his audience don't really go for female headliners.
Okay. Right. So who was closing, if you don't mind me asking?
Zoe Lyons.
It's brilliant. She's
absolutely superb. Yeah.
God, I mean, not that any female headliner isn't, but she is excellent as well. She's like, built. She's like, did she win? She won So You Think You're Funny and everything, and she's been like, like just a darling of the circuit, really, isn't she?
She's unbelievable. I have so much respect for her. I've always admired her, and I've always felt that she's just been hilarious. But
yeah, brilliant.
There was one time I gigged with her. She was closing. It was in Bromley Comedy Club. And have you ever done Bromley Comedy Club?
I have, yeah.
With what's his name, Mike Fox, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the theatre room, little back theatre room.
Did you like it?
It's a difficult gig, isn't it? I found it was harder than it had to be. If it was hard for some reason, it was a harder gig than it had to be. I don't know why. That was. No, it wasn't. I couldn't say that I really loved my time there.
It's one of those gigs where I think it's almost got the attitude of what I imagine the Tunnel had back in the day, where they've just got this hard Southeast London geezer sort of approach, and they really just stare at you and just go, fucking make me laugh.
I know, I don't understand that. It's like, why is it why come to a gig? I mean, that's fine at Edinburgh, you've seen like 7 shows, you're just like jaded, but when it's like you've paid just to see this one thing, one thing, just to hate this one thing. It's like, you've paid literally money for this, to be miserable. I don't understand that,
They're making it harder for you to provide the thing they've paid for.
Yeah.
Like running away from an Amazon driver.
That's it.
So I did a gig there, Christmas gig. So just to make it even worse,
Great.
You can imagine this is a recipe for disaster. And as I was sitting there waiting for the gig to start, nervous anyway, because it was always hard, a group of 20 fucking hammered builders I wouldn't say they walked in. They couldn't really walk. They sort of fell in through the door, all over each other, getting each other in headlocks and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a few of them were quite coked up as well. And they just sat at the back and on this massive round table and fucking talked all the way through. Do you remember Sean James used to MC it quite? Big Sean James.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. He was MCing. He was obviously worried and couldn't get control of them. One of them said something, and he did a mum diss. He just did a little mum joke about one of them, like, "Oh yeah, your mum," or whatever. I can't remember the exact words. I think he was struggling, and this builder just picked up a chair and fucking ran through the club right over his head. Whoa. He just and just before he got to Sean, though, all of his other mates piled on and they had a massive scrap. Yeah. Everyone sort of got out of the way as they were fighting, and they managed to chuck themselves out. I think some of them were more sensible than the others, and they were threatened with the police and stuff, and they just went. You can imagine that there's just a destroyed gig. There was no atmosphere except tension anyway. But we had a break out of necessity just to clear things up, wipe up some blood and stuff. Nice. And then I was on, and Sean had obviously lost all hope and confidence by that point. So he just sort of went, did a very lackluster emceeing in the middle section, just brought me on. I just died on my arse, just and then because I didn't really know how it was about 10 years ago. I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And then there was a little break, and then Zoe came on, and she turned it around. She smashed it.
Great.
She addressed it. She just relieved the tension in the room. Did everything that you really should know how to do as a comedian.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago. It was 10 years ago for her, and she was that good then.
Wow.
Since then, she's just got better and better. So I was very disappointed in the people of Winkwell for not buying her tickets.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's a shame. This guy Matt, he started this gig up in the Metropolitan and like gutted it just before the lockdown.
Yeah.
It's all ready to go. Oh man, that would talk about just a fucking just a fucking bucket of shit just before you're about to get your teeth into something. Oh, that's tough. But so
got
that's
all of his old pubs to keep afloat, plus the whatever he invested, which must have been in the hundreds of thousands. Jesus. And then no income all of a sudden.
It sounds like he's like the John Taffer of the pub world in the Chalfonts and the in Hertfordshire. Man, that's amazing. Look, I've been watching this. I've been watching John Taffer. Like, I love it. I love Bar Rescue, man. It's great. I love it. It's brilliant. Yeah. Just hooked into it, mate. It's just it's brilliant. Anyway, so that's unfortunate, man. Same with a lot. I had the fisheries one in Henlow, and I just started at one in Abbots Langley as well, and it was just a really nice little theatre room, like a community theatre hall, and it was perfect. One of those like seats that you kind of move out, and then we had like Stephen Carlin on closing the first one, and they were like, yeah, great, let's do it again. Lovely. I was like, yeah, here we go. So I booked a load of acts, and then lockdown 1 happened, and then it's like, shit, okay, then lockdown 1 eased, and I was like, great, let's book some more acts, and then lockdown 2 fucking happened. I was like, all right, lockdown 3, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is getting ridiculous now. So I'm not one of these self-help people, but I have started to read. I had this book, I won't say library, it's just like a footstool of books basically in the corner of the room, which is one of them was Getting Things Done, and I was like, I don't need to read that book. I get shit done all the time. I don't need to read that. And then I was like, right. And then finally lockdown 3, and I was like, okay, I think I need some motivation. I'm going to try and read this book because it'll be a step towards the other shit. You know what I mean?
Was it just one page and it said get TikTok off of your phone?
Maybe it could have been, yeah. I mean, in fairness, I wasn't hitting TikTok then. I mean, it was afterwards. It was I felt TikTok was a celebration.
Oh, so it recommended TikTok.
Yeah, that's after you've done everything, that's what it was. Weirdly, it was sponsored by TikTok. It was like, yeah, it's good. But I bought it because there was an advert on TikTok. It was just, I don't think there's anything to do with subliminal messages or anything like that, or extra sales. What's your day job?
My day job? Oh, God. I only do it for the ladies.
Oh yeah, right.
It's space management. So I do data input and AutoCAD drawings for office space management. So you can see that the ladies would like that.
In fairness, you designing cubicles. I mean, it's not, what's the word, like interior design, but you can do that, can't you? It is basic interior design, though, isn't it?
It's actually not. It's not the design. Well, it kind of. Typically what we get is drawings that have already been created by architects, but we're putting them into a system that people use to manage their space. So companies get to a certain point and they realize that they can't do it on spreadsheets or anything like that anymore. And they want to sort of know how much space they've got and who sits where. Yeah. If they're going to move people around, where are they going from and to, all that sort of thing. So it's that kind of thing. Do a lot of work for the NHS.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have to report on their sort of patient and non-patient space for sort of internal compliance reasons.
Right.
And also, increasingly, we've done a load of social distancing kind of tools so people can actually make sure that they're sitting people, in the right spaces and they're not putting people too close together. Yeah. The circulation space where people are walking around, the traffic is managed, so not everyone's walking around the same routes. Maybe they have a one-way system, all that sort of thing. So it's a lot of that, kind of taking that data and making that work for them in a system. So it's all right. I don't mind. As a day job, it's okay.
That's all right.
It's not. I didn't grow up thinking that
it wasn't the dream.
A great thing to do.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, this is what I want to sit in front of a computer all day and like just kind of design basically cubicles and stuff like that, right? But I mean, in fairness, right? Do you know what I need is someone to design a place. The fridge is miles away from where I am, so then I don't have to fucking eat everything in the house. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's at the moment, maybe just need a lock on it. I need a time lock. That's what I need. I've just invented something. There we go.
That is a good Dragon's Den pitch. That
time lock on the fridge. But then people would just be chiseling the fucker off, wouldn't they? Just, well, look, I'm you know what people are like, but that's fine. I've changed my mind. I have the right to choose, isn't it? But yeah. So you do that in the day job, but like, that's well. At least you got. Have you ever managed to make any comedy out of it, or is it just like I can't really talk about it on stage?
The funniest I've been wasn't in this job. Like this job, I just take seriously and I get through it, and it pays the bills. I don't hate it. Like I work with nice people, that sort of thing. The funniest I've ever been was in an office job previously. I worked as an admin manager for an accountancy body. So again, pretty glamorous. Yeah. Pretty high octane stuff. That was in central London, and I kind of took it seriously for a couple of years, and then I realised that no matter how hard I worked, I was never going to get paid anymore. So I just stopped trying, and I just became an expert in skiving. I would do anything just to take the piss. Like if I put any effort into anything, it would just be to annoy people a little bit, just to wind people up. And yeah, I just spent about probably 5 years doing virtually no work,
just pranking people. What's your major prank you did then? Come on, hit me with the best one.
Well, I wouldn't say pranks. I was just like an irritating presence in the office. They had a little technical library because it was an accountancy body, and I was working with the technical team, and they had like lots of documents and stuff, and it wasn't used that much. So I just took it over as my dressing room.
Nice.
So I used to have my shirts because I was like single and lazy. I used to have my shirts like dry cleaned. So I would just hang all of my shirts up in there. So it was just full of hangers, and my gym bag and everything.
Great.
And I just used to go in. I used to get in about 10:30 every morning, which is the latest we could get. We had flexi time, so I used to get in at 10:30, and then I used to spend about half an hour in my dressing room getting ready for work. I'd sit down about 11. And then I'd probably spend a good hour. Like sometimes I'd, just have a little look on Facebook, for an hour or so till lunch. Yeah. Other times I'd book out a meeting room and just go into the meeting room and either take a magazine in there, or obviously a big pile of papers to make it look as if I was doing something. And obviously they all have phones in the meeting room, so I just call my mom or my mate or whoever for a couple of hours. It was just then I go to the gym, then I come back, gotta have lunch at the desk.
Brilliant.
Then I'd stay late like an absolute hero. Yeah. So I'd be like, everyone would leave at 6, and I'd be like, nah, sorry, I still got stuff to do. Yeah. I wish I could go at the same time as you. But no, I'm gonna got stuff to do here, and I just look at my stand-up notes and get ready for the gigs.
Great, someone's got to do it, and it's like, it's not eezy. It's not easy working this hard. That's it. All work and no play, mate. That's it. Tough times. But I say, we're going backwards to your tours for Tour for Shelter, right? Yeah, you raised 21,000 for Shelter, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's good, man. That's amazing.
I mean, I'm irritated with Captain Tom now because I think he's probably pissed all over that.
But he's old as well, isn't it? And he has got he was in the army as well, and and like he killed the best baddies, the Germans, didn't he? He killed the best, kind of enemies.
Still don't like him.
I know. Yeah, that's it. He just walked. He used to walk around
every lap he did. I was like, you prick.
I know, mate, but that's like life, isn't it? You can't pick to be the hero. Everyone picks the hero they want, isn't it? It's like you can't say that you don't like that person anymore because everyone's already said that they like them. You've said it, so it's fine. But it's like, I mean, being comedians, you're allowed to say it to some degree. I was probably only joking, but really deep down, it's a lot of truth to it. But it's
I do mean it. Yeah,
that's it. It's like it is kind of like loads of people have done way bigger feats of humanitarian efforts and helped way more people. But when when someone, just that one person does that one thing, it's like, oh yeah, of course, that's it. It
was an amazing thing to do. It's just the right time, the right person, just a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
What a great way to end his life. It's just superb, really.
Okay, but also didn't he go to Barbados? One of his final wishes was to go to Barbados, wasn't it? Or he flew out there.
Did he?
In lockdown.
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, he flew out there in lockdown, and then he actually died of COVID, didn't he? COVID got him, didn't it?
Yes.
So but he went out of his way to go to Barbados to get it. So it's like, you know what, right? I respect you for doing the bit for the NHS. That's great, but you went and put yourself in harm's way. Do you know what I mean? You were never going to beat COVID at that age. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I know you've got medals. Don't count. COVID doesn't look at medals, mate. So it's like, oh, I feel sorry for him, man. But he shouldn't have gone out there. He shouldn't just stay at home. I know. Do another 100 laps and learn another 32 million, wasn't it, for the NHS? 32 million.
Yeah. Do you think he was trying to go international?
Maybe was, mate. Look, that's it.
The ego of a man. He just, it's like someone trying to break America or whatever. He's just like, fuck this. I'm gonna go and do my laps in in Barbados.
Yeah, that's it. Barbados technically is an American.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so he was trying to break America.
Yeah, he's doing the Puerto Rico thing, isn't he? The sort of trying to be affiliated and then just slowly move in. Yeah, I know. He's trying. He went too mainstream, mate. He went too mainstream with his charities.
He did,
mate. Stay in your lane, buddy. Stay in your lane. That's what it is. It's an important
mainstream
lesson.
and hack as well.
There was I wouldn't walk too much on the roads in the Barbados, mate. They're pretty rough, especially in that condition, mate. Even the gardens, mate. Those iguanas tripping over those fuckers, mate. You don't want that to happen. So mate, but 21 grand, now that just seems like nothing now, doesn't it? It's just look, but you did it for homeless people and not the NHS. You know what I mean? So it's I think it's better.
Yes.
So you did you did Edinburgh as well. Did Edinburgh with the end of the run for that 21,000 you raised, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so that contributed to that figure as well. So wow. I gave that money to shelter as well at the end.
That's at the end, though. That's to wrap up with Edinburgh. That is, after doing all those gigs all around the country like that, that is a grueling task. That's non-stop mental health issues.
I was fucked. I don't know what the medical term is. It's probably exhausted and depressed. But absolutely. Just I tell you what, the main thing as well. It was so surprising to me that how I felt afterwards, because what happened was I had this adrenaline rush that lasted for about 7 months. Because it was basically all the way from Cornwall up through the country. I didn't know how I was going to get from A to B, if I was going to have a place to stay, how I'd get any food. I mean, in the end, I put on a huge amount of weight because people were so lovely along the way. But you don't know. And there were days where I didn't manage to eat very much, or had to wait a very long time. And I never slept on the street, but it was getting to the very last minute a couple of times where someone just went, oh, for God's sake, stay at mine then. or someone, off of Facebook would just, actually there's a guy now who posted the other day and said he's really struggling to stop drinking and other things as well. And it was right at the time when I every year I do about three months or so where I don't drink. I just cut it out and then reset, learn to do things without any help from alcohol. And regain normality, and then I just fall back into terrible alcoholism. Afterwards. But no, I don't, and it does help. So just like to do that. And just as I was about to, he put a post on Facebook saying he's really struggling and everything like that. And I said, look, why don't you join me on this 90-day thing? And he is. But he was one of the people who turned up at a pub, having seen it on the local community Facebook page that I was desperate for somewhere to stay. And he turned up after a gig and just went, are you Damian? You're staying at mine, come with me.
Oh, great.
And normally that would be quite creepy, but under the circumstances, it was a very, very big relief to me. And I've stayed friends with him ever since. But it was a huge adrenaline rush every day because all of that. Plus you're doing gigs, and I booked a certain amount of gigs in first. So I knew about half the gigs were sorted, but I had to book in the rest. So from about the Oxford up through the Midlands, up into the northeast, through Durham, Newcastle, and all of that, I had to book them whilst I was on the road.
Wow.
And a lot of the time, like down in Cornwall or wherever I was, like I didn't always have the internet as well.
Yeah.
So it meant my window for actually contacting people or getting back to them was very small. Then in the end, my mum did so much work. She helped out a couple of other people. Like, I don't know if you know a comedian called Nick Mellors, does a bit of comedy, runs a few gigs. Yeah. He started working with my mum. I mean, they were physically in different places. They didn't set up an office or anything, but they would share Google Sheets and call landlords and theatres or whatever. Because it wasn't just pubs; it was pubs or it was theatres. It was working men's clubs. So it's really the ultimate comedy experience because every day, like it's so varied. I might have a theatre on a Monday night, and then a really rough, dodgy pub on a Tuesday, and then farm shop on the Wednesday that has a little bit of a bar and some local client, it might be like 6 people sitting around or whatever. And I'd go from like gigs with 6 people to gigs with packed out of 100 people. It taught me a lot as a comic, and it taught me to adapt very, very quickly. It was hard.
Yeah, emotional roller coaster, man. Jeez,
yeah, but that adrenaline, that's what that was my point. The adrenaline was there every day, and then of course you know what Edinburgh's like for adrenaline. You just you're never stopping. You're running from gig to gig. You just trying to make your show as good as it can be, and all of that. And then it got to September, and I came back and I moved in with my girlfriend into Essex, and I was just utterly depressed because you just get that adrenaline dump and you're like, well, I've gone from having really immediate, intense purpose every single day, a real reason for doing something, getting up, raising more money, raising awareness, actually making it all work, like, and being so recognized for that as well. Like, everyone goes, you're doing a great job, you're motivated because you get so much great feedback, you're getting laughter every night, which has... We've all got comedians' egos, and we know how much we crave that, and that just went, and I didn't have any gigs. Also, I didn't have any gigs booked in either.
Oh man,
like very very few, because I'd just been focusing on my stuff. Like my tour and everything for Shelter in Edinburgh. I hadn't actually booked any club stuff in, so I had fuck all in the diary. No money. I'd basically spent, like, the thing that allowed me to. I basically went full time with comedy for a couple of years, and I had some money from. When I split up with my ex, we made a little bit of money, and I got some redundancy money from the that office job I was talking about that finally realised I was doing absolutely nothing. In fact, less than nothing. I was annoying other people trying to do stuff. Great. So I got a bit of redundancy money, but all of that had kind of gone because it took about a year to do the admin and the prep for the tour. I got back. I had no money, nothing to do, no gigs, no job, and I was just I don't know how my girlfriend put up with me. I was just fucking laying around on the sofa. I
just feel like Jabba the Hutt, like pizza.
I look like Jabba the Hutt as well, because basically it was after 6 months of pretty much pub food every day. It's funny when people are giving you food, you can't really say, actually I happen to be on a low carb diet here. So if you can go and get some high protein snacks, that would be lovely. That's
it. Yeah, you can't look a gift horse there. That's it, man. Oh no, that's it. Just like thing is, the pressure of being good at those gigs would have been immense as well, because you're like, right, I'm representing this charity, and like also I'm representing myself, and I do badly. I've got to fucking stay at their house now with like my head in my hands.
Luckily, no one actually rescinded their offer of accommodation.
That's good.
Based on how unfunny I was. That was that was a relief.
I saw every time I saw it was great, but there's that extra pressure of that kind of happening, like just kicking you in the nuts, isn't it? Going, oh well, great, now I've got to cope with this other person's judgment as well as my own, so that's tough. So like,
well, as you know, there were a few gigs that were really really tough, and me and whoever else joined me, we died on our asses. And it is embarrassing. I can't remember anyone kind of who I stayed with where it was really awkward because of that. I don't think, for some reason, I think like if it was bad, there was normally a reason behind it, like there was only 4 people in the audience or something. And normally they were apologetic because it was normally a landlord, and they couldn't get people to come out in their village on a Tuesday, but they did their best. So it wasn't, there weren't any horrible experiences. Like, no, not really. There were a couple that were shit because I wasn't funny. But statistically, over however many gigs there were, was it about 120? You're going to get a couple like that just because you're not in the mood.
That's it, man.
Or
or someone's giving you some fucking potatoes. You're like, look, I'm on a low carb diet. This is just gives me brain fog. Look, so it's the potatoes' fault. That's what it is. So how many years were you going before you did the tour?
So that was 2015, and I think I started doing a little bit in 2007, but then that was in Tokyo. Yeah, so I don't know if you know that I lived in Japan for a long time.
No, I didn't know this at all.
9 years. So straight after university, didn't know what I was going to do, and I thought I might go into just doing a bit more research.
Yeah,
I did English Lit, and I thought I might want to go on and do an MA, maybe a PhD, maybe be an academic or a writer or something.
Cool.
But I didn't have any money. I didn't want to go straight from, a degree, which I worked quite hard at, to straight into more academic work. I know people don't really think of students as working hard, do they? I hated my university socially. Quite a lot of a very different sort of group of people to, where I'd come from. They were lovely in their own way, but I just felt like a bit of a misfit there. So, like my dad's a builder, can't read and write. I went to a state school, and I think most of the people went to public school where I ended up going.
Right, where's your degree? Sorry,
Durham.
Right, Durham.
Was in the Oxbridge Rejects University.
Oh, right, is that what that is? I don't know.
So not only were most of them from public school, but they also had a massive chip on their shoulder about ending up in Durham. Whereas I was delighted. I was like, bloody hell, I've got to Durham from where I, from a school that is, basically needed to be closed down. Yeah. And I was really proud of myself, and they were all obviously really gutted that they ended up there. And it was weirdly, I chose a college because it's collegial Durham. Right. It's broken up into there's about 10 different colleges, and I chose for some reason St. Chad's College, and it turns out that it's very religious.
All right.
So and I'm not. That's fine, but I'm not. People were very different to me. They were, getting up on Sundays and dressing up in Sweden and going to
church,
going to chapel.
Whoa.
And I was not. So I just immersed myself in. I thought, okay, I'm not going to really. For the last few years, I spent every weekend going out. It was the rave scene. It was the 90s dance scene.
Right.
And I loved all of that. And I think I'd had my time. I was like, okay, so I can knuckle down and just enjoy the academic side of things and really get the most out of this opportunity that I've been given, because I didn't take it for granted. When you come from a family that haven't been to university, maybe can't read and write, or and there's this massive kind of
get the bit between
respect.
Your teeth.
You really have a huge admiration for that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I took it, and I just immersed myself in books for 3 years, just going. I would study till 2:00 in the morning. I would just when everyone else was drinking, I was just exhausted myself. And funnily enough, I think I overdid it. I think I
burnt out,
because I went. Yeah, I did. I was just like, I finished my degree, and I was like, right, I'm not reading another book for a while. It was about 10 years till I picked up another book. Well, I suppose I went out to Japan and set up a life there, really.
Great. And where else did you go? Did you go to Tokyo, or where'd you go?
Yeah, Tokyo. Yep, Tokyo for I think it was almost 10 years.
Amazing.
I was a teacher at first, an English teacher, so teaching English as a foreign language to adults. Cool. It was a huge industry, by the way. Not a lot of people know that, but it's like it was a huge thing, to the extent that English teaching schools for adults who needed to learn English, they would command the prime real estate in major parts of Tokyo.
Wow.
So you'd come out of the train station, and where in London, it might be what commands a huge amount of real estate now, like a
that has
shop,
sway in it.
Starbucks, maybe.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was
McDonald's.
McDonald's or Starbucks level kind of prime real estate would be an English school in Tokyo, because that's basically everyone realized that for their work they had to start learning it, and they were really being pushed.
Wow.
And I went out and I started teaching for a couple of companies, and in the end I set up my own little school.
Cool.
Sort of cherry picked all of the great people that I met along the way. Yeah, we all worked together, and we provided sort of bespoke curriculums to. Weirdly, I met some people who connections in kind of fashion and stuff like that. So we provided bespoke curriculums to fashion and hairdressing colleges.
Wow.
So it was great. We used to go along and teach all of these like stylists and hairdressing students. So they were really sort of the real sort of crazy looking, oddballs of Japanese culture that, you know, probably you see on a lot of programs when they do shots of Harajuku, which is what they're like.
Yeah, the Harajuku girls.
Really?
Yeah. I went to,
you've seen it, yeah?
Yeah, was it my wife's best friend is Japanese, and so we went over there 2 years ago. So and we just went like see all the places and went everywhere. It was amazing. It was an amazing time. We had such a great time. Went Disney as well.
Did you?
Yeah, it was brilliant. We had a great time.
I never went to Disney. I don't know why I didn't do. Did you go to two? Isn't there? Disney Sea.
Oh yeah, we went to both of them. Went to both of the parks, but we didn't go to Universal. We wanted to go to Universal. We'll go there next time. So we'll go back again. But
you're gonna go back?
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely. I had a great time. I did some gigs over there as well. You did your first gig in Japan then?
I did. So did you do a gig with Tokyo Comedy Store?
I didn't get a chance to do that one.
It sounds a lot better than it is. It's not affiliated to any other comedy store. They've just called themselves. It's basically it's almost like an open mic gig. They've got a very long-standing improv group there that do the second half. So its first half is stand-up. So I don't know. That's what it used to be anyway. Second half is improv. They're all very good. It's just one of the only gigs for stand-up out there in Takadana Baba. I love that name. Yeah. And it was in a pub there. I forget what the pub was called. Oh, The Fiddler. Yeah. And it was a little pub gig. I don't know. You might know Spring Day.
Yes, of course.
Spring Day was there. There was a comedian called Cloudy Bongwater.
Right.
He was a character. He was a genuine nutter.
Right.
He had like this dyed blonde hair. He always used to wear sunglasses. Yeah. I don't know. I never seen him without sunglasses. He was about 60 when I knew him. Right. And he used to walk around Tokyo carrying his Hoover.
Okay.
No, not carrying it, dragging it along with him. Yeah. And he used to talk to it like it was an actual,
a pet.
A being, and and he used to make sure he had a space for it, a seat for it on the tube and everything like that. And he was just a real eccentric. He was very funny though. It was like and Spring was there, and a guy called Kevin Cooney. He was a good comic, and Dave Gutteridge, a Canadian who used to MC a lot of these gigs and run them outside of. He ran like about a handful of gigs in pubs outside of Tokyo Comedy Store, because I think he used to do the Tokyo Comedy Store stuff, but they didn't fall out, but they just went separate ways and did different stuff, and it was all right. It was fine. I got enough laughs to carry on. Great. So
that's good, man.
Yeah, it was nice. It was in English, and I think most of the audience were expats.
Great. And you're like, when people ask you, did your stuff work in Tokyo? Well, most of them are English speaking anyway, isn't it, on these places?
It's a different dynamic, though. Yeah. I mean, you can't have your routine sort of too rooted in...
Wetherspoons.
Any British reference points. We actually used to do... Did you ever do... I don't know if I don't think you started then, but there was a gig Bobby Carroll used to run in Kensington called the Builder's Arms.
Right.
Did you ever do that
upstairs?
One? Was that before? Yeah.
Yeah, upstairs. Yeah, I did that one. Yeah, that's a little corner green room by the stairs at the back. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a weird gig, wasn't it? It was nice. It was nice. But
it was nice.
But it was downstairs. It was filled with like really like young kind of hip people, office people, and upstairs there was none of those people. There were none of those people. It was a complete different dynamic.
What it was is there was an American university kind of college, but right next door, and all of the students used to come over. So it was like suddenly you were in Kensington downstairs, but when you went upstairs to do the gig, you were transported to the States, and you had to be careful about every single reference point. And it was wonderful, because it was almost as if you just got to do an American gig on a Monday night. I love that gig. But that was the thing in Tokyo. Of course, it was a lot of Australians, Canadians, Americans in the expat audiences, so I had to be quite careful there.
Of course.
But it's weird. Everyone had a common connection with Japan because they were living over there. So I used to do a lot of stuff about the Japanese language, learning the language and being like everyone does their act about being a foreigner in Japan.
Of course.
So it's like that, and then you bring that stuff over to the UK, and you realise no one gives a fuck.
And they just hate you for the fact you've actually been outside the country, isn't it? Like, you went and lived your life. Oh, that's nice, great, good for you. Making me laugh.
Fuck off, mate.
That was your first gig. Your first joke that you wrote was that about just the Japanese culture, or what was the first joke, or ever?
I think it was about it's not going to sound funny.
Go on.
But I'm not telling you the joke, but it was something about the long-winded nature of Japanese language.
Yeah.
And me being massively impatient and wanting to get to the point, because they're very polite, the Japanese, and they've got the like different levels of formality.
Yeah.
So I used to play around with their sentence structure a lot and do translations and kind of take the piss out of how long things took, but also take the piss out of myself using overly formal Japanese in situations that didn't require it, because you get taught the formal stuff first. They don't teach you the slang stuff or how anyone normally speaks. So I'd make fun out of it. It's very language based. I still got, part of me likes jokes about language, kind of just around grammar and stuff, and just being. I don't take an overly pedantic angle, but I find the kind of minute detail of sentence structure and stuff really quite amusing.
Yeah, it's like you're traveling through Japan with the formal structure of their language, and you're speaking like, for in comparison, like a Victorian gentleman.
Exactly.
You're kind of like, what is wrong with you? You know, that's so funny. That's great. There's humor there.
So I actually died on my ass in Japanese once.
Oh,
I've had 2 gigs that I did entirely in Japanese, in the Japanese language. One was a competition, a comedy competition. It was called freestyle, so you could go and do any style. I don't know if you know how much you know about Japanese comedy, but most comedy is very stylized. There's a set format for it, and it normally comes in the form of a double act. Yeah, and they're normally fundamentally ridiculous. Like I'm very dry, so whenever I used to watch Japanese like comedy on television, I would be absolutely fucking furious. Like, it would infuriate me that, you know, there'd be someone dressed up as a chicken, and his partner every so often when he made a joke would slap each other on the head and stuff quite a lot. And it's very, very.
Where's the art? Where the fuck is the art in this?
That's the thing. There's obviously a very old tradition that has been developed over the years, and of course, objectively, these people must be very talented and very funny, but I never gave it a chance because until more recently, I've been extremely judgmental about and closed-minded about the kind of things that I'm prepared to find funny.
I totally understand that.
You know, up until recently, the second someone would get up on stage with a guitar, I'd be like, "Fuck off!"
Ukulele, no, get the fuck out of here. You're cheating. Get your fucking cheating. Stand there with a mic naked. That's it. Not
exactly,
naked, but
with your words.
That's it. All you got. That's all you got, buddy. Just you and the mic, your voice. That's all you got. And your physicality. Maybe make a weird angle with your arm. That's all you got. You can fucking do that. It's allowed. None of this. No mime. No mime though. Act out's allowed. No mime. Not allowed. So
that's how I was, and
nice.
And I sort of, quite arrogant 10 years ago as well. I felt as if I was some sort of pioneer of normal stand-up going into this competition.
Great.
And of course, the entire audience was Japanese, and people in front of me were like wearing silly wigs and you know, all sorts. And you know, I think actually the act in front of me had a wig and a water pistol.
Oh my God.
And I'm sure there was a partner as well. It would have been. I think there was a chicken costume.
Oh God.
And you know, I was just like, "Oh, look at you pricks! You're about to see how comedy really works here."
Yeah, I could drop some truths, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is just going to be mind-blowing for everyone. Nice. And I walked out, and of course, just instantly died on my ass because people were just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
There appears to be a man on stage who firstly isn't Japanese, and secondly doesn't have any sort of costume, and is just saying words into a microphone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And they were like, "What?"
Yeah, that's it. Oh man.
And I just badly died on my ass. But then I did another one, which was it was a Japanese comedy thing, but it was part of Tokyo Comedy Store, or that group, Dave Gutteridge's gigs, and it was for the audience that normally go to those gigs and listen in English, but we said it was Japanese. There were some expats there, obviously, who for them, Japanese wasn't their first language, but they also brought along a lot of Japanese people who had probably, they'd gone away and seen stand-up, like over in the States or whatever, and come back who had a sort of interest in stand-up. So there's not a lot of those people out there, but, there's a few Japanese people that have kind of been educated in US universities and come back and really enjoy the stand-up. It's not completely unfamiliar to them. That went well. That was really good. Nice. I enjoyed that one, so pulled it back.
Yeah, that's it. Save the self-esteem, man. That's what it's about.
Got back on the horse. Yeah.
Was it, we talked about at the beginning where that Bromley gig, right? Is that the worst gig you've ever performed at?
Yeah. There have been a few where, see, when you start out, you sort of, obviously you aim to develop the kind of skills that I mentioned Zoe having, so you can take a gig like that and turn it around. And of course, over the years, you do pick up more and more of those skills. Once in a while, you get caught out, and then you learn from it. But there are some gigs nowadays. I think over the last few years, the gigs that have been really bad for me haven't been my fault at all. They're just shit gigs, and I don't feel bad about that, and at least I find it funny. Yeah. Like
good story.
It's just a good story. And actually, I find something intrinsically hilarious about a group of people staring at me. It really amuses me, and I enjoy that personally more than doing well.
Book me, please book me.
Because I think I know it sounds weird.
You're such a masochist, man. You're such a masochist.
I fucking am. I am. I think it's because I have an out of body experience where I'm almost in the mind of a mate or someone at the back of the room watching my pain. Yeah. But I also have the added benefit of seeing them from the front, and they're just their sheer bemusement, and it just makes me really enjoy myself. I don't get flustered anymore. I'm just like, if anything, I'm just I love it. That's it. I don't do it. Out of choice. But if it happens, then fuck it. Yeah,
that's it. You've done your best.
Enjoying it.
You've done your time, mate. That's funny. You were shortlisted for the Malcolm Hardy cunning stunt. What was the cunning stunt you did?
Oh yeah. So that was, I'd forgotten about that. So I went up to Edinburgh might have been 17. Basically, I had a really good room for one of the gigs that I was doing, which was like I called it the Ultimate Comedy Championship. Did you do it?
No.
Oh, damn.
Ultimate Comedy. No, I don't think I did.
It was based on the UFC, which I quite enjoy watching. And it was the Ultimate Comedy Championship. It was in Three Sisters, and it was absolutely rammed every night. And we used to obviously use all of the UFC fighting music, like people who come onto Rocky, like fighting tracks. They all had to have a fighting name as well. So like, Jenny from the Flock Collier or whatever. It was great fun. And we kind of talk about their stats beforehand, how many wins and losses they'd had recently. Alex Hilton was a great sort of commentator on it all. And we'd get people to be security or refs or judges. The audience would vote on who goes through to the next round. It really worked. It was just absolutely brilliant. But then on the other hand, my show, which was a show about my abject fear of dancing, which is very true. It was a bit further out, over near the pear tree. I can't remember what the room was called, but it's a bit further down the road from there. And it was a room above a pub, part of the Free Festival. And the room wasn't terrible. It had a few problems in that people would have to come in, like the toilets were upstairs, so people would actually have to come into the room to go to the toilet. The women's toilets, and then it was a storytelling show which kind of was supposed to come to a bit of a climax at the end. And 1 out of 3 gigs, someone would just go, "Oh, sorry, is this the ladies' toilets in here?" And then they'd sort of bang the door as I was sort of trying to reach this climactic bit of my show, and then someone else would come through and just go, "Oh, yeah, is this the toilets?" And they both go through and turn out to be their mate, and you'd hear them having a conversation in the toilet and like their hairdryer and everything like that. But that wasn't the biggest problem. The biggest problem was actually getting people into the venue in the first place. So, that's everyone's problem in Edinburgh. But it's a bigger problem if you can't just, bring people straight in off of a busy street. So it's a bit too long a walk. So I was like, I had to find a way of getting people in. And I was like, okay, so I want to be able to fly people, but I'm can't really. I'm standing around all of these paid venues, and the people that I want to get to my gigs are the people that are inside, because it's a surefire way of finding someone knows comedy if they're sitting around in the Pleasance looking for comedy and stuff. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to order a security jacket online and just pretend I'm a security guard. Basically stand on the door of these venues or inside, basically let people in. Or maybe even just have a little look in their bags and pop a flyer into their bag.
Yeah, nice. Great.
And so I just started doing that, and it just escalated really to the point where I was sort of a regular face.
Great.
Like I was on the same doors at the same time. Even the people on security didn't really ever challenge me.
Brilliant.
Like they would just be like, all right. I'd be like, all right. And I'd stand on the underbelly up near the Gilded Balloon. That one, I'd stand on that door before my gig.
Brilliant.
Then I'd be on the door of the Monkey Barrel.
Oh yeah.
That was fantastic. And in the end, all of their staffs just thought I worked there.
Brilliant.
And the thing was, because I'd go there after my gig, I'd drink. So they obviously thought I was drinking on duty, but no one said anything. And they gave me discount on beer, because like staff discount as well. But I would just stand there on the door as people were going out, and I'd just say, "Keep it down, please, ladies and gentlemen. We've got neighbours," and all of that. And just I got asked to remove someone at one point because he was smoking a joint downstairs, like on the stairway.
Great.
So I did.
Great.
I just went, "Come on, mate, you're gonna have to fuck off with that." Okay, just properly got into the character.
Nice.
It was so much fun. But I think I got a few people in from it. But I think the major thing was it cheered me up just to go, because my gig, I really enjoyed doing it. When I had decent numbers of people in, it went well, and it was so much fun to do. But it really, I found myself getting very, very fucked off with inadequate venues. And I think because I've been doing it a few years, and I sort of feel as if I might be wrong, but I feel as if I've done my hard gigs, and I've done the shitty rooms, when you do 2-handers or 3-handers or whatever. I have, and I want to, even if it costs me money now. I want to go and do a room where I don't have someone walking through to go to the toilet.
That's fair. No, that's not
too much to ask.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair, man. Yeah, for sure. Just interrupting your final bit when it just the show comes to a climax. Just all people go, "It's toilet here." It takes away all the showbiz element of your entire effort. You know what I mean? It's no good. No.
It does. No. So I'm gonna, and I found myself getting increasingly annoyed. Like also with free gigs, you obviously get people coming in drunk and not giving shits because they haven't invested in their ticket as well. So I had a couple of moments where I think I just disproportionately exploded at people being drunk twats in the front row, just like without not being funny about it or anything like that. They just went, "Right, cunt, fuck off," and just screaming at people to get out of the room. And it's very very hard to pull the approachable persona back from that. Hey guys, sorry about that.
It's not who I really am. It's not who I really am. It's just got to be said sometimes. That's it. And when the audience are totally with you at all, that's great. Oh man, that's tough. But so okay, right. I got one question to ask you. Right, did you do the martial arts when you were in Tokyo?
I did a little bit. For a couple of years. Weirdly, I went to Japan, and at that point, I became quite interested in MMA because I think the UFC had started just before that, and I'd always been interested in martial arts because I come from a martial arts family. Weirdly,
right. What was the style?
So my dad and my uncles are all judo black belts.
Wow.
And my granddad was a second dan, but then my dad was the only person who just did judo. He, Uncle Jeff and Uncle Pete, they went on to do kendo, in which they got black belts, and kudo as well, Japanese archery.
Right, wow.
So they've got a huge connection with Japan as well. But I've always been utterly disappointed with them doing the least useful martial art other than judo. Of course, judo's pretty useful, but fucking
archery, horseback archery
and playing around with bamboo sticks.
Oh wow, just a second, let me go home, get my stick. Come back to you. You'll be sorry.
But my uncle Jeff, he's something like the brothers don't really get on, so
Right.
I don't have that much contact with him. But he was a British kendo captain for years. I think he still is,
Right.
and he's something like seventh dan, like in the world. He's
Yeah.
like one of the, greatest kendokas, probably
Yeah.
it's called. And I just fucking useless skill to have. He may as well have just. He'd be more useful to be good at pool.
It's like, this is going to sound really shit, and I hope I never meet this guy. But I'm like, look, you're like basically a seventh dan Morris dancer in this country, aren't you? That's what you are.
Kendo.
It's like, hang on, sorry, wait a minute, just you need to hold the stick. Stop punching me, pick this stick up and I will fuck you up. That's what it is, right? Oh man, that's so funny.
So yes, I did, but I went over and I'd done a few things. I've been very sporadic. I've never really stuck to martial art, so I've dipped in and out of things over the years. And at that point, it was Brazilian jiu-jitsu that was taken off at that point. So I went and I trained at Axis Jiu-Jitsu with a guy who tell me if I get boring.
No, I'm interested, man.
He trained with Rickson Gracie for a very long time.
Wow.
Rickson is obviously one of the great Gracies who set about really popularizing it. And he refused to take. It was a brown belt, a very, very good brown belt with 20. It was back in there's a lot more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts nowadays than there used to be. You can get one after, if you really apply yourself after about 6 years nowadays.
Right.
Back then, there was only a handful in the world, so it was a big deal. And he wouldn't take a black belt off of anyone other than Rickson, because Rickson was he was very loyal to Rickson. He wanted to be the Rickson Gracie name. Yeah. And then whenever not whenever we used to train, but sometimes when we used to train, the guys who would be fighting in Pride, which was obviously the Japanese version of UFC, the MMA competition that they used to have, anyone from Brazil who came over to train in Tokyo before competing in Pride, because obviously they come over for a few days beforehand and acclimatize themselves and get over the jet lag or whatever and train, like the Nogueiras. Don't know if you're aware of the Nogueira brothers or Mario Sperry, the Gracies themselves. You'd see Royce. I never saw Rickson. We saw Royce. They'd come down and train, and we get to roll with them as well.
Cool.
Yeah, big Nogueira. He tapped me out in about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It was probably the most humiliating experience of my life, other than the Bromley gig. I would say.
No, but like, come on, like, the experience. I mean, how you? I mean, that 15 seconds is like completing the Gong Show at this Comedy Store, isn't it? In comparison, it's like, look, I mean, he didn't do it in 3 seconds. He could have done it in 3 seconds, but it's 15 seconds. Before all this lockdown stuff, did you still train?
Again, on and off. I've never been good at sticking to anything. So I in fact, about 3 years, I trained Muay Thai. In various ways. I trained at Diesel Gym and in London, which is a very good MMA gym, but very good on striking.
Great.
And then I went and trained with a girl who is think she's now the European. She was the European kickboxing champion.
Wow.
Sarah Worsfold, she was good. She does PTs.
Cool.
So she's got a little massive double garage all kitted out with punch bags and everything like that. So trained with her up until the end of lockdown, and I was really enjoying it. But I just dabble with these things. I don't take them very seriously. I just do it to keep fit, really.
Yeah, it's good.
But I'm going to go. Do you do anything?
I did 10 years of shotgun, and I got to my first dan.
Did you? Amazing!
But I loved it, man. I want to get my second dan, but it's just I need to put the two years or so, maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years at this stage training.
When did you last train?
Oh God, I last trained. It was a while ago, a good while ago. But I mean, I do still keep fit, and I've got a punch bag in my garage and stuff, and I kind of do bits and bobs like that.
Do you keep fit by doing karate on
striking on it and stuff, all that kind of thing, but like,
You're
mostly
still flexible.
I can do the front splits, side splits. I got about 2 hands to get down to that level, but I want to you have like these ideas, like dreams, like especially if that martial arts is in your family, your culture, you want to go to where it began. And I was like, right, okay, I want to go to like China to kind of like study where martial arts kind of I guess originated originally. 29. I was like, right, I'm going to go to China because I want to see the origin of everything. I looked up the Shaolin Temple, and I was like, man, these guys sleep on.
Did you do it?
I went, but I didn't go to temple because I think those guys sleep on concrete. And I was like, I want to do this authentically, but also I know that before I go out, if I injure myself, I won't be able to rest on a concrete floor. Do you know what I mean? And fully enjoy the experience.
Me and my mate always fantasized about that. Yeah, I love it. There were a lot of Shaolin Temple based films in the 90s, weren't there? Where you just you have to walk up thousands of stairs carrying buckets of water and all of that stuff. And
that's it.
It would have been. I'd have. Should we do it?
It was amazing. I mean, I did go. I went to the. I went to the second level. I went to the second in the Kunshu Mountains in Yantai, and I went for like 3 months. And I was like, right, okay. And it was I was the fittest I've ever been, man. And I was like, right. And you just reach a stage when in your fitness, and you're like, I don't need anything else apart from training. That's it. I just don't need it. And that was where I was at. I was like, I could do this forever. But like, it was
wonderful.
I was like, but it was like for that time, it was about maybe 1,500 quid for those 3 months. And it was just like, but that was everything, including my food and everything, So it was like,
did they control what you ate?
Oh yeah, they controlled everything. What I ate, what time I got up, well, I mean,
did you have enough to eat?
Oh yeah, loads, man, plenty.
What was it? Was that just rice?
It was just like rice and we'd have like steamed dumplings and stuff, steamed buns and stuff, and like eggs for breakfast. Oh man, honestly, I came back, I was ripped. It was just ridiculous. Like, and you talk about running up the mountain. We'd run up the mountain, and there was run up to the mountain at the very top, and then run back down again. And I did it 8 times, and I did it. I was just loving the training and the senses. Have you finished already? He said, do it again 4 more times. I was like, oh, so it was brilliant, man. I loved it, and I just trained so hard, man.
Were they nice, or were they like brutal bullies?
Do you know what? Right, they were, because I was like, before I went out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna train. I'm actually get the splits down before I went out because I was training hard in the gym and stuff. But it doesn't prepare you for the like 8 hours of training you're gonna have. You know what I mean? It's like, because you're like, you go to the gym for 3 hours. That's fine. That's done. You can have a rest. But the constant. So, but before I went out, I was like, I'll make sure that got splits down, because I didn't want to go out there and then to break my legs, because they were pushing you down, just like make sure to get into it. So I could do the splits, before I went out. But after the first week of training, my legs were so tired, and at the end of that week they were sparring. So I was like, oh, okay, right. And then after like not being conditioned for that length of time training each day,
they spar properly.
Yeah, everyone went for it. I got sparked out twice, mate. I was just like, it was great. It was really great. But I was like, right, I was up against like a couple of other international people, like, and I was like, this guy from London, and so I was like, me and him went at it. He was a boxer. Footwork was amazing. I was like, he was so quick, and he was like, so I was like, right, the only way I can take this guy down is if I kick him. So I just keep him away, legs length, and I'm quick on my legs, but because of all the training, I was so slow, man. I was like I was so stiff.
Aching.
Yeah, man. I was like, I did a dummy, and then a roundhouse, and it just tapped his chest. I was going for his head, and I was like, I am fucked now. And then he just sparked me out, mate, twice. That's it. But I got up, man. I kept going. I kept trying, mate. That's what it was all about, It was so fun, man. It was so fun.
Did you learn any crazy animal forms?
No,
I did. Monkey stuff.
No, I didn't have long enough, because I was only there for 3 months. So I was like, look, because if I went deep onto there was one was called mantis style. Some of these guys were doing eagle style, like white crane, and like some were doing staff. And I was like, they were there for, some of them people that were there for a year. And so I was like, I don't have time. I thought just do Wing Chun and just like, and like pick it up like that and just kind of get quick and just kind of, it was different.
Did that complement your Shotokan?
The flow, of course, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Especially the way I was taught in Ireland, it was just like, it's all very tense and kind of power.
I imagine you had like a teacher a bit like Pai Mei in, what is it, Kill Bill 2?
Yeah.
Just with was there anyone with a very long white Chinese beard?
Unfortunately not. I was gutted about that. There was no one, like, they were just like little dudes who were just like badass, and they were just like, they were just incredible. These little dudes are brilliant. Are you watching Cobra Kai?
I
love it. It's brilliant. Love it.
Fucking amazing, isn't it?
It's like, I hated the first 4 episodes, and I was like, God, this is terrible. And I was like, then I came back to it, and I was like, oh no, actually, I love this. Because
why did you hate it?
I found that like the fight scenes in it were just so terrible. Like the actual story arcs really kind of kept me hooked after that. I was like, no, actually, we'll give it another chance, and then got back into it.
Just wonderfully, just funny with the kind of the way they pit the generations against one another with the kind of the woke versus the old school sort of testosterone fueled Johnny. Comic genius, I think. He's such a good actor.
I really hate guy who owns the car dealership.
Daniel LaRusso.
Yeah, LaRusso. I hate LaRusso. God, I hate him. God, I hate him.
He's just so cheesy and slimy, isn't he? Yeah.
God, yeah. But the other guy, like, come on, underdog all the way, man. That's what it is.
Yeah. But quite intentionally so. It's a wonderful twist just to make Johnny the underdog.
Turn on its head.
Brilliant writing.
That's it. When going on stage, then really, some people have models when they go on stage of what kind of performer they are, or they do comedy like it's some sort of job, or they could be a mythical creature or something like that. You know, when you go on stage, or at the beginning, did you see yourself as any creature, being, profession?
As any kind of creature?
Oh, it could be anything, man. Could be like, you know, like it just I say it's wide open, this question. Take your time. It's a difficult question.
This when I first went on stage initially in my comedy career.
You can have it now as a solidified state or model.
I don't now, but I mean, I think I'll take this question as one about influences, if that's all right.
Yeah.
The clear influence, which hopefully you won't see at all now, or when you've seen me over the last few years. But my initial, the person I was copying was Jimmy Carr.
Right.
And I was so shit. I was just, you know, like, I mean, I had my moments where I was funny and you know, I could write some jokes that got laughs, and I was probably best when I forgot about Jimmy Carr. There was a few gags in there that were clearly influenced by him, but didn't suit my persona, and were just probably too brutal, and I just didn't know how to do it, and it was just terrible. Just becoming yourself on stage is, you know, takes some time, doesn't it?
For sure, man.
And you know, and it's probably an ongoing process as well, and that self that you're trying to be on stage, it changes, so you have to make sure you're not, you know, talking as an older self because you haven't changed your act, or you know, so it has to be the up-to-date current you, and otherwise people will detect some sort of you know, inauthenticity, you know, about what you do. Yeah, if we said a beast, probably just a tiger.
Right, nice. A white tiger. No, it's like, you know, when you have, you know, when you're like talking about like how, you know, you do certain things that don't fit your older persona, right? And you don't want to have to go up there with like the kind of like, oh man, you know, like when you're in your like maybe mid 30s or something. God, I'm so old now. you know, when you're just like, you know, and like, you know, when you're playing to like people who are just retired, they're like, oh, fuck off, mate. You know, do you know what I mean? I'm like fucking 65 or whatever it is. You know, sometimes
I hear that a lot. You know, when people just like, there's so many people that just have irritating things like that to say, particularly very young acts,
wishing their youth away just for something to say, isn't it? It's like, oh god, I wish I was old. You will be, don't worry, mate, just hang on, just hold on to your fucking youth and talk about something that's relevant to you. Or
trying to tell people how to think and what your philosophy of life is when you're 19.
Great. So funny.
Yeah, so you've only been paying tax for a year, if that. Yeah,
that's right.
Off, mate.
That's it.
Yeah, so it's hard though, because there are certain jokes, you know, or routines that you know maybe about a different time in your life, and you're like, oh, how do I update this so I could still somehow tenuously hold on to this thing? And of course, if you do, it just won't be funny anyway. Because
totally.
The reason it was funny is because it fitted.
How many shows are you in?
Only 2.
And have you got another one in the pipeline?
Well, over the last year, I haven't really done anything comedy related. I think most of the last year I've been learning how to make cabinets. It's been ages. Like I've been living with my parents, living with Emma and stuff, and over the years, over about 5 years, we've rented the combination. But finally, seeing as I've now got a job, I've had to get one because of lockdown and everything. But the plus side of that is that I've got a regular income, so I managed to get a little mortgage on a very fucked up old flat. But it's lovely. It's Georgian, and
nice.
You know, my dad's a builder. I always used to work with my dad as a kid and everything. I've spoken about that on stage a lot. Yeah. And so the team got back together and we did some building. And I've never really tried to be good with carpentry or anything like that. Fuck it. Mainly because I think Emma thought I couldn't do it. She was like, why don't we just get someone professional in to do it? And I was like, that's my backup.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm watching every YouTube video until I can do this. And to be fair, like we all mucked in, and Emma did a load of work as well, and we completely converted this Georgian flat and restored a lot of stuff, and it looks absolutely lovely now.
Oh, brilliant, man.
And it was just a great 6 months where I got to work with my dad, who's in his 70s.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably fitter than me.
Yeah.
He just runs up and down the stairs. It's a first floor flat with bags of plaster and stuff. He's just, I think he's that fit because he never stops.
Yeah.
He just keeps on, like he never stops working on his own house or in the garden or whatever. But yeah, what that meant was that I haven't really done any stand up for the whole of a lockdown.
Yeah.
But I went out for a walk. I was quite depressed yesterday because I'm 2 weeks into not drinking, and it was Friday, and I was like, I could really do with a fucking beer.
Yeah.
Want a beer, and then Emma had 2 beers, and I was seething. I was just like, oh fuck you, just sitting there with a nice pub, which I went and bought from the shop for her. So I was like, I can't. I'm too angry to sit here watching her drink. So I was like, all right, I've got to go out for a walk. And I went out for a long walk, put music on my headphones, and I was like, I think I'm a bit depressed, because when you don't sort of, numb the pain and the boredom with, substances and, just watching telly all the time, stuff like that, you start to think, okay, what am I going to do next? And I just wrote down the things that I want to do. I want to do the Ultimate Comedy Championship on the biggest scale.
Cool.
I've got a whole list of notes on. I came back and I was like full of ideas and optimism. I want to start writing. Idea for a kid's book that I want to just try.
Great.
Just it doesn't matter if it doesn't work out. I mean, I'll just make our kids listen to it and read it.
That's it. Punish them.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's right. I want to read this other book. No, you're fucking reading this book. God damn it. We're reading this one again until you can...
And you're going to tell everyone how brilliant it is.
Totally.
So I've got so many things I want to do that include writing. I've got jiu-jitsu on there. I'm going to go back to jiu-jitsu down in Hastings.
Nice one.
Muay Thai, a bit of striking. Try and do that. And then some kind of show. But I think I lost my excitement because it's such a vague possibility to do stand-up. Yeah. I've never got into the online stuff. I don't do Zoom gigs or anything. Yeah. Maybe I should. Yeah. Do you?
I tried a couple of Zoom gigs, man. I've got one in February, on February the 14th, which my wife is kind of going, "What the fuck are you doing on the 4th?" It's only 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes. I'm gonna be in the room next door. I'll be back.
You're out of order, mate.
I know. Yeah, I'm a fucking arsehole. That's what it is. Hey, look, there's been many times when I haven't been there for other things too. You know what I mean? So it's like, but at least I'm next door. I'm not driving home just like exhausted. But I guess the rest of the Valentine's night, I'm like, I had a really good gig. It was great. I just enjoyed it. But at least it'll be a shorter conversation. It won't be anything on the road. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been doing a couple. So yeah, they're all right. But that's quite a few things to do, man. I understand where you come from, man. It's like,
I won't do any of them.
It's good to have them on the wall so they judge you. It's like, no one needs to feel good all the time. There you go. Just have the list, photocopy it around the place, wherever you fucking sit down that you can relax. Just
if you're going to fail, it's nice to have kind of very, very clearly defined failures.
Yeah, damn right. That's it.
That you clearly haven't done.
Yeah, it's good because, at the end of the day, there's whenever you die. This is very morbid into the podcast.
We're wrapping it up.
We're wrapping it up on
in
a
very morbid way.
Yeah, so
why not? What if you can't finish a podcast with a conversation about dying? I mean, when can you do that?
This is true. It's just basically perfect. I should start. This could be a preview to my Fringe show when someone dies at the end, or some morbid, horrible thing happens at the end, or I'm hoping for that. So my show sells out and becomes best show of Edinburgh. So best podcast, best Edinburgh podcast. That's what I'm going for. But I thought about this, right? When they had the lockdown one, there was a few cinemas open, and it was my birthday, so we went out for the to watch something at the cinema. There's I don't know if you know, there's a backyard. The backyard cinema is the secret cinema thing I think it's in Wandsworth, and I went to see that. It was fucking amazing, man. Really, really good. Had a really good time. The Honest Burger there, and it was great. I had all the food. I had a drink, and sit there, and I was like, it was really quiet. Everyone's enjoying it. Socially distanced, great, whatever. And everyone's just on couches and just not talking. And sometimes you go to cinema, you're just feeling like you're just going to tell someone shut the fuck up any minute. Just go. Yeah. And I didn't feel that. It was great. I was like, oh, we're just chilling. Then with my daughter, and I was like, okay, cool. We're just having a good time. Just needed a blanket. That's all I needed, a blanket. But that was fine. And then I was sitting there going, you know what? I've had a good life. If I died here watching after the cinema, Do you know what I mean? It was Bill and Ted Face the Music. So I was like, if I die before the film, it isn't going to make the most difference. So
No.
so I was like, I thought if I die now, do you know what? I've had a good innings. It's fine, you know. So like that's all it is, you know. I don't know where that was coming from, but it's the fucking list. You'll never have completed everything. If you die, there's always going to be something left on your list, right? So you know, that's it. So make sure it's the thing you know you're really gonna fuck up. So like, man, I wish you all the best with your new flat and everything, man, and like, you know, just updating it, man, and getting all how you like it, and I hope to see you on the circuit soon, man, like when it all warms up, man. And yeah, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you for like that's hour and 20, man, like, you know, it's been just great.
You too, Winter.
So yeah, when it all thaws, I'll get you down to the one I got in Abbots Langley and the one in
likewise.
Fishers,
come over and do our one. We'll do it.
It'll be great,
lovely
man.
Stuff.
Where can we find you, Damien? Where's your like your socials and all that stuff? So
I'm at Damian Kingsley on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as well. I'm probably funny sometimes on Facebook. I'm not very good on Twitter. I don't do much. I might change that. I might start thinking about that, because I don't know, even if I say something funny on Facebook, I never think to just put it over into Twitter. I've never got used to it, but I should. So at Damian Kingsley on Twitter, Damian Kingsley on Facebook. I've got a page as well. So yeah, if people want to add me, yeah, that'd be great.
Well, Damien, thanks for your time, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Nice one.
And that was episode 105 with a very funny, incredibly nice guy of the circuit who collected over 20 grand for shelter, Damian Kingsley. He's on all the socials as @DamianKingsley. If you ever see him on a bill, you will not be disappointed. He's a very funny guy. He's got some lovely callbacks. And you can follow this podcast. We're on all the socials as well. The Comedy Defect. We're on Facebook. Go like the page. Go join the group. And if you like this podcast enough and you want to donate, you can. Go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast, and you can donate as much or as little as you feel this podcast is worth. And don't worry if you can't donate, that's okay. Just tell your friends about your favourite episode, because it tells people where we are and what we're up to. I'm going to wrap this outro up. All I'm going to say is this. I know New Year's is around the corner, and I wish you a happy one. You know, it doesn't have to be better than this one. If you had a good year, great. If you didn't have a good year, well, you got to this point. Fair play. Keep going. You know, and hopefully it just kind of evens out in the end. It does. It just takes a bit of time sometimes. But like everything, just keep moving forward. That's all I'll say to you. And don't go mad in January and hurt yourself mentally or physically, because a lot of pressure. Just keep plodding on, lads. Just keep going. That's all I'll say. So happy New Year. We'll see you in the new year for episode 106 with the excellent Dave Bailey. Happy New Year, guys.